So it's just always a constant struggle between all the ideas and things that I want to do and what is realistic. Because, we've really only been able to be successful when I let go of a bunch of things and we went narrow and deep on the teas. So I do want to continue doing that. We have some crops like hibiscus and butterfly pea that are challenging and labor intensive, but that are, a fun addition to the tea line. So just sort of, trialing crops that can work for tea. Like for a while, I slashed the crop plan in half for like 3 years in a row. And we got just really good, we got pretty decent, I guess, at growing the few, 12 of our main crops. And now we're able to expand just a little bit.
Katelyn, thanks for sitting down with me.
Yeah.
And this is my first time here at Katydid Hill Farm. And got some beautiful flowers behind us.
Amaranth.
Yeah, and some amaranth weeds. And I wanted to... You were one of the top farmers that came to mind because I think that your products and the way that you've approached your business has been, inspiring for us. And also just we love drinking your tea.
Yeah.
And, whenever we have company or a dinner or, a family gathering, we often brew up a pot of your tea.
Love that.
And I particularly like flower tea because it's so colorful with the calendula and bachelor button and all that stuff in there. And the, I think moonbeam tea. Anyways, there's so many different ones, but they're all really fun. And it would be great to start kind of rewind from, you're very focused on tea now, but you weren't always very focused on tea.
Yeah.
And so it'd be great to just start kind of, how did you get interested in farming? What brought you to farming in the first place?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Were you ever at the old farm?
I drove by.
You guys were.
I've driven by it, but I think that was before you owned it. Yeah,
gotcha. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we definitely have a step up. I mean, I thought at the time I started to lease to own that farm in 2016, and that was huge for me. So this is just totally insane now. Never would have pictured it 10 years ago. So yeah, how did I start to get interested in farming? It was really like my mom let me have a little herb garden when I was like a senior in high school. And I was just fascinated with making fresh tea. We had like celestial seasonings we would make in the evening. I remember like making a cup for my dad, and just like you're saying, that sort of like tea bonding moment, similar to food. And so, I think that, lit the spark early on. And then in college, took anthropology classes where I just learned a little more about like food systems. And then wanted to start working on vegetable farms. So I just sort of like took a leap and moved to the mountains outside of Boone, North Carolina, and had did a farm season there, which was awesome. Just sort of like 101, what are plants? How do you grow them? It was just a small vegetable farm kind of tucked away in the mountains there. And there was a small flock of laying hens. And there's also such a big herbal community there. So was able to also start to learn about farming, and at the same time learning about, the benefits of all the weeds that I was pulling, and how to identify plants in the woods and the mountains there. All those things was like a great little intro. So then I just kept farming, couldn't stop. So then I went to Weaver's Way Farm in Philly. I wanted to move back to Philly. And so that was a really great, spot to be able to live in the city as a young person, but still engage in small scale farming. I feel like I really got that level 200 lessons there of little deeper into soil health and weed management techniques and things like that. But then I took a couple years where I worked as an intern at Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's house. So there you rotate between the vegetable and herb gardens and the orchard and like the native plant section and all. I just was kind of curious about different occupations within, working with plants and working outside.
Like historical.
Yeah, right.
I've never been there.
Yeah.
But do they actually like grow and prepare like herbal medicines and stuff there as well?
Well, that was my little like intern project. So I did. They just were like, yeah, we kind of wanted someone to get some of these herbs into a product. So like I think I looked into different dryers that we could build, and we dried some herbs, and we did end up making little tins. So I don't know, that was 2014, so 2013, 14, I think. They've probably come a long way since then. But because, there were a couple people interested in herbs. The vegetable farmer there had done her thesis on herbs at Monticello. So,
that's cool. Yeah, that sounds, like Colonial Williamsburg and all the stuff they do down there with the different kind of reenacting of things. And it's, I think that the herbal medicinal side of things is often falls through the cracks.
Right. Yeah. It was really interesting. And, like how different they just learned about like Thomas Jefferson and his, he had a lot of like GI ailments, I guess. Really? And so he grew a lot of aromatic herbs to kind of support like his health.
Oh, nice.
And then also, of course, people who were enslaved there, herbs were often a way that they could take care of their own health as well. So just learning about the different ways that plants were used in that like really particular context. It was really, really interesting. But I did decide then that I kind of wanted to go back to farming, really enjoyed working in a public garden. But at the end of the day, I was really engaged, my mind was really engaged, but I don't know. I love the abundance and production focus of farming. I miss the pace of production, which to me now sounds insane because I'm exhausted, but it keeps me going.
Yeah, we have a little bit of respite right now from the summer heat. Yeah. But, how dare you say such a thing in the middle of summer?
I know, but I do having a small farming business. It is my passion, and it is what keeps me engaged. And if I'm not able to see something through, seeding or propagating and growing and creating a product and sharing that with people, I don't think I would be entirely satisfied. So plus I am feral and I need to work for myself.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, there is something that is satisfying about taking something from a seed and turning into a beautiful product that someone can have in their house and interact with and enjoy and can bring benefit to their life. Yeah, which you've definitely successfully done. They're beautiful products.
Thank you.
What was the process like, though, from going from 0 to 1, basically, from getting saying I'm gonna actually start growing something and turning it into a product that I can sell? Did you do that in Orwigsburg? Was that?
No, I did that before. Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, I would say that I wouldn't have the energy to do it again, but I'm over here starting a whole sheep and wool side of the business. Yeah. So I guess I continually have the energy to start new enterprises. But so I started when I was working at Weaver's Way, I was just wild harvesting around parts of that farm, collecting weeds that were growing there. There was there were little plantings that people had installed over time that weren't really being used. There was beautiful elderberries and things like that. So I was making more products in my home than I could take myself or share with I had 6 roommates at the time. So I started to just make little tinctures and tonics and sell them at, I started at the Go West Craft Fest in West Philly, where I was living. So I had started making herbal products and selling to the public just literally for fun, just as a creative outlet, you were saying. But you learn a lot when you start to do this just from people reacting to what you're selling and what they're kind of looking for, what they need. I had just whatever I could forage, I would just make and sell. Do you need black walnut tincture for parasites? Whatever. So like really not at all connecting, like the marketing, had no idea about business or marketing.
Yeah.
Was not super interested in it at the time, but I did learn a lot about what I like to do, you know, like what I like to talk about and share with people, and what people are kind of interested in. So that was kind of how Tooth of the Lion Farm, as the farm was called then, got started. And so then I ended up working at Pennypack Farm, north of Philly in Horsham, which was a really great experience. That was one, you know, I know a lot of young farmers struggle to go from apprentice intern positions to like I'm managing or running a farm.
Yeah.
So they had a assistant manager position there, which was really great. Like just like the learning curve was huge at first, and I really learned, like was able to focus on learning how to manage and run a farm. And that was when I decided like I want to do this, and I want to start my own farm, and I'm going to invest in learning about business, like the business side of things, and deeper into the production side as well. So so I wrote a business plan. Like I worked there in 2015 and 2016. Wrote a business plan in 2015. And then like I guess it was the PASA conference back when it was still at Penn State, I saw the ad for the farm in Origsburg.
Yeah.
So, you know, they had built a CSA there. They had the hoop houses, they had a greenhouse, they had a walk-in cooler. Little did I know all that stuff, you know, of course, was 10 years old and needs a lot of upkeep and maintenance. But again, like, you know, being naive is part of how you get into these things. And it's part of the benefit of being a first generation farmer, I think, is you can plow ahead and get things done rather than being held back by what you know, if you've seen a farm, you know, go through generations of investing in infrastructure and whatnot. So I reached out, like we worked out a lease to own agreement. So I leased it for 2.5 years while sort of like building equity there, and then made the final purchase with a FSA loan. So that was important that I had managed the farm business that was in the black that first year. I mean, God knows how that happened. It was like there were so many, I mean, it was chaos. I was just getting started. And of course, you realize all the things that you didn't know about running a farm. A lot of just property maintenance and infrastructure maintenance was probably the biggest just gap in my experience. But yeah, you know, like I had sublet part of the farm. There was a big farmhouse, so I was just trying to use what I had available. I had sublet that. So having that income was pretty big. And I had a value-added producer grant, just a small one, because you had to match the other, you know, you had to match half with cash. And at the time, I didn't know you could do that. Like I used a line of credit that I had. I didn't know that you could do more. Well, I did match with labor, so I used the line of credit. But anyway, it was only $20,000. But at the time, I was like, that's enough for me to quit my job and start this thing and pay, and, you know, have money to pay for some help. So all those things kind of like contributed, not that I would do them in that same way again, because it was just wild, but they did contribute to like being in the black that first year, and therefore FSA approving the loan for me to buy the farm. Literally that first loan went through in December, and that year, you know, if a couple more months had gone by, I was in the red that next year, and they probably wouldn't have liked to see that, right? Yeah. But like, since the timing happened the way it did, that was approved. You know, the FSA loans don't need you to put any down payment down, of course, and you're paying interest on the full amount of the property. So, you know, but I had such a great first experience with FSA, like shout out to Kevin Lush. And I'm sure there's a lot of other amazing people, you know, at that Berks County office, and more. Just really helping me through that whole process, which was, scary. I had never bought any real estate before, and here I am buying a farm.
Yeah, the FSA loan, we've never participated in one, but I've heard that they are really beneficial to small, new and beginning farms, and especially for land purchases, which it tends to be, you know, the most expensive possible thing.
Right.
They also seem to have a lot of very preferential treatment to new and beginning farmers. Like as long as you have a solid business plan and it looks like you fully intend to execute on this, they're willing to kind of take a little bit of a risk and say like, all right, this is, because there's no choice. Like it's not like you have this thriving, you know, big business where they can look at cash flow and you know, all that and say like, all right, she's doing great. This is this is going to be a good investment for us.
Right. And you have to get denied from a bank in order to apply for FSA. And it's like, well, that's no problem. I got laughed out of Farm Credit, Horizon. Like, I had a line of credit with them, but the mortgage, they were like, oh, we need to see a $60,000, annual income for you. And I was like, well, currently I was living on $10,000 a year that I paid myself.
Nice.
And like, that was fine. And Kevin just wrote that in. Katelyn lives modestly, to like the narrative for the loan application.
She's a real farmer.
So, it was fine.
And is that the same year then that how were you marketing any of those products at that point? So I started the lease in 2016, but I was still working at Pennypack Farm. So it's like, an hour and a half, 45 minutes away. So I was living at my parents, who were a half hour away from Pennypack at the time. So, and then like working at Pennypack and then going up on the weekends, basically just to mow. And I was, trying to get the thing going, which I really couldn't until I quit that job. I just got a job at the hardware store that first winter because I realized oil heat is a lot for that old farmhouse, so that I could, start investing and working in the business. So I was selling products. I was going to farmers markets and selling products that year. I went to the Bryn Mawr Farmers Market and I went to Head House in the winter. So I was able to get into some good markets just because the herbal teas at the time, probably less so now, but at the time was pretty unique. And so I was buying herbs from other local farmers and some national suppliers because it was hard to find all of this, and marketing those blends that way so that I could sort of develop the market before I was growing the herbs. And that was honestly really helpful because if you are, your first year trying to have a production farm and you harvest something and you have no packaging for it, no one is going to buy it. You literally can't sell it. You're just going to throw it back in the compost. Well, I think there's two things there that I think are really unique that are not typically done by new and beginning farmers or small farm businesses, which is because they tend to be very idealistic and they're like, I'm only going to sell what I grow.
Yeah.
And, but having enough open-mindedness to say, look, I need cash flow. This business needs to be an actual real business.
Right.
So that I can then do the thing that I really want to do, which is grow everything.
Yeah.
And then all you really need to do is just be transparent about that with the customers and say I'm buying in some of this and I'm blending this, but I am doing the blending and the packaging and the marketing of this.
Right.
Not just reselling someone else's product. I'm doing this custom blending myself. Is a great way to create cash flow, and having kind of that incremental approach is really smart. And a lot like a winery, when a winery starts up, they plant the grapes,
right,
and they have years till harvest, and even once you have a harvest, then you also have years of aging the wine. So they will often buy in grapes to do that, and that's just a standard practice in other industries that I feel like a lot of small new and beginning farms could give themselves a little bit more grace, a little more open-mindedness.
Learn about business and marketing.
Because there's other things you're learning about by doing that. Like you just said, you're learning about business and marketing and inventory management and customer relations and all those things, which those are also really valuable tools that you need to be developing that you might not have really had much time to develop yet.
Right.
So I think that's really valuable. It's a valuable insight to for a lot of new and beginning farmers or just small businesses in general to.
Right. And now, after those first couple of years, once we were a little more established, we do grow everything. And if we, have a crop failure, then we are out of those blends, because at this point, that is our promise to our customers.
Yeah.
And do they know or care all the time? I'm not sure, how hard it is to really, have all your crops be successful every year to keep all your blends in stock, But you just really can't find the quality. I mean, I started out and I was trying to find as many local herbs as I could because you can tell the quality difference and the quality of the teas definitely increased. And I learned that not everyone wants, goldenrod and yarrow in their tea necessarily. They're bitter herbs. They have a strong flavor. So I used to really try to incorporate a lot of those kind of more funky herbs that I just loved. And now I realized, I don't need to change hearts and minds about drinking yarrow tea.
Yeah.
And I just want to grow things that taste good, really focus the line from those early years on things that people can enjoy with their friends and family and like connect with that are familiar, like just growing a really good chamomile tea. People know chamomile tea, but when they open our jar of chamomile, they're like blown away. They're like, oh, this is the real stuff and I need that now,
Yeah, that's good. You spoil your customer and like turn them into food snobs so they only buy your products.
Right, exactly.
But you didn't start out focused solely on tea. You were doing tinctures and different kinds of other kind of traditional medicinal type things. A lot of people don't even know what a tincture is.
Right. Yeah, you guys know. Yeah.
In the hemp industry, I'm like, I never even knew what a tincture was before. Right. And so there's different kinds of tinctures. Most of them in the herbal space are water-based or alcohol-based tinctures. So you use steam to extract the maybe you should describe it.
I have never done that.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, like a hydrosol?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, we do have one hydrosol, which we harvest the herbs here and then run them down to Blue Stem to use their still.
Yeah.
However, I am going to buy a still because Doylestown, I love them, but Doylestown is far away.
It's far, yeah. So how do you typically...
I could learn how to do a still, but for the tinctures, it's just a steeping. You're just changing the menstruum. So it's similar to tea. There's a stronger ratio of herbs to menstruum. And the menstruum, instead of being water for tea, the menstruum is what extracts, the herbs. It's a blend of, we use organic cane alcohol, apple cider vinegar, and a little bit of water.
And then you just put that all in a pot together and steep and put the herbs in there.
Yeah. Surface area, I think, is the most important thing. So we have like a giant immersed stick blender that we work in there to blend it up. And then we steep it. My go-to is at least a week. But often they'll steep for many months until we just get around to pressing them.
And that's actually on heat.
It's all cold.
Oh, okay. So they're just kind of sitting in there at room temperature. And because you have those acidic things in there, like the apple cider vinegar and the alcohol, there's no kind of like fermentation or like weird stuff happening. It's
exactly
food safe. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so it's basically kind of an alcohol water hybrid. Those acids are leaching the beneficial compounds out of the herbs.
Exactly.
And then you basically strain that and filter it and then bottle that.
Right. Yeah, we press it. So we'll strain and then press out so that you get like every last drop of moisture out. And we do also steep all of the herbs fresh, which I feel like is important.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference. Some herbs more than others.
They're not dry.
They're all right. We don't dry them first.
Okay.
We steep them fresh.
You have a couple of those products still, but you've shifted much more to focus on herbal teas.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I wanted to touch on because that is another attribute that I think that is a valuable attribute that you have is in your approach to business, that you're willing to kind of have a sensitivity to the customer demand and the market and where the opportunity is. How can you have an economy of scale on your farm and in your business, and what is something that you can do that I'm projecting some of these things into your decision-making process, but maybe you can talk more about what was the decision-making process and kind of, it seemed like maybe 2 years ago you did a really, really strong pivot to focusing on small farm teas as like your go-to-market. This is what you do.
Right. Yeah, it did. The scale was part of it, and just like my personal desire was part of it, as far as like when we had the full apothecary line of tinctures and tonics, we had 15 or 16 different blends that we made. And the conversations around that at the farmers markets, which are still our main source of income, although we also sell online and to different retailers, I just found difficult to really help people because, if you're a clinical herbalist, you have a full 2-hour consultation with someone to assess and really treat the root causes of things. And people saw the tinctures and they wanted us to help them with them, but it just was difficult to have that conversation in like a minute and a half when I also need to help another customer in that setting. And more and more, people were like coming to me to like help to like heal them.
Yeah.
I feel like the benefit of herbs is that like they support your body and like you and your like your own embodiment and your power.
Yeah.
And you don't need me to do that for you.
Yeah.
So I just want to grow really high quality local herbs that then you like, people are like, which tea is best for me? Which one is good? You know? And I'm like, just go with your gut, you know, like which one is calling your name? I think what you're kind of gearing towards is what is good for you. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that, at least with like what we're doing in our business. Like, you know, and when someone does have a more complicated issue and they're on other medications, like clinical herbalists can do a great job with supporting them. Like it takes all different types of ways to practice and use herbs, I think. And I just didn't feel like that was really like my calling to be in that exact place. And so now we do just get to focus on, you know, we always say the flavor is the medicine, like, which is, I feel like, you know, supportive of just, okay, I want the teas to taste good and for people to enjoy it, because you're only going to do something really if you enjoy it. Like regularly. And like, I think it's okay to do things that you enjoy, you know, like pleasure medicine. I think it's important. And then also, you know, the way that we grow our herbs and harvest them, efficiently and dry them at low temperatures, we retain all of those essential oils, which are the medicine for your body.
Yeah.
So there's a stronger flavor and you're going to enjoy it more because of that. And it also does have more medicinal benefits because of that. So, you know, all those pieces fit together, and we don't get into that with every conversation with every customer, because people have an innate sense for what they want to drink and what makes them feel connected to themselves and people around them and to this land, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I just want to support that feeling, you know, people's connections there.
Kind of like so in the hemp industry, we have also experienced some of that because we sell the CBD tinctures, and it's profound, I guess, how quickly customers will get into like, this is my problem that I'm having, or this is like one of my family members is having this problem. Is this going to be good for that? And you always have to you're like, well, I'm not a medical doctor, and you should definitely talk to your doctor about this. And so there is an enormous hunger for alternatives to pharmaceuticals, and so herbal medicinal stuff, which hemp would fall into the category of, have seen a resurgence, I think. But there's also there's a liability, I guess you could say, side to that, where you don't want to be giving out too much medical advice if you're not a credentialed medical professional. Well,
and it doesn't do justice to the people and their real concerns, you know, for me to listen to you for 1 minute. I mean, then I'm even worse than a doctor. Like, how long are doctors in the office with you for? Like a minute. I mean, and it doesn't do justice to the healing power that herbs do have, because we're not able to really look at anything together. You know what I mean? But yeah, honestly, like, because of the whole like resurgence, you know, of like herbal supplements, we were, when we transitioned from Tooth of the Lion to Katydid Hill and the focus on small farm tea in 2022, we did work with a business consultant through the PA Vitality Grant, which was great. We did a business plan and a marketing plan through that. We got 2 grants,
nice.
Which was awesome. And for the marketing side, like, they looked at our margins on the tinctures and the margins on the teas. And we saw the teas were only 40% of our business. And I'm over here talking about how we're going to cut out 60% of our products, you know, of our business, which have a way better margin. We're going to focus on this 40% of our sales that has a lower margin. And they were like, why are you doing this? You know, and I really had to stick with my gut feeling that, like, I don't want to grow that side of the business in this way. It's not feeling right to me. And we're going to revamp this line of teas, and I'm going to get people excited about it. You know, like, I had to have that vision and really stick with it through like the conversations around margin and scale. You know, like, I could just see it. And it took a couple of years. Like, when we first did it, you know, 2022, I think, is like the only year in the history of the business that we did not grow as a business. We actually shrank a little bit. You have those ups and downs and it's okay. And I had to really push through. And then 2023, and since then, we have grown, at least 30% every year.
Yeah, so that's a unique insight too, is like kind of your intuition as a business owner. But it's contrarian in a way, but that's the magic of small business sometimes, is that you're like, I'm gonna will this thing into reality.
Yeah.
Whereas, but I mean, I'm just, as an observer, I'm seeing that tinctures are such a unique and niche product that, but tea, on the other hand, everyone knows what to do with tea.
Right. And some people are like, I'm a coffee drinker. And I'm like, that's okay. Yeah. It's not for everyone. But then sometimes they'll sample it and they will totally buy it because it tastes delicious. Way better than what the tea they've had before.
But the margins may not be the same, but the scalability is maybe exponentially greater because everyone knows what to do with tea.
Exactly.
Just add hot water.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
What a tincture is so unique, and so like someone has to already be coming with a very, pretty hippy dippy like herbal medicinal mindset to be like, I'm gonna take this, really unique, really probably effective tincture. Yeah. It's so there's. But it's cool to see that kind of playing out successfully then, like your intuition as a business person, and then you're also, not to undervalue the fact that you're like just going to be committed to this, like I'm going to just make this work.
Yeah, and I've done plenty of things that don't work. I'm not saying that it always works, and that's just part of having a small business. But really trying to learn and listen to people over those first couple of years and listen to myself. And it's not that, the business consultant was great and I learned a lot through that process. And we did take a lot of their advice, but it's like at the end of the day, the business does revolve around, like for me, my passion for things. And I know that other people share that passion, and I don't necessarily need the stats on nationally how herbal supplements are growing to know, I think like we went through the ideal customer exercise, and it's like, I know a lot of people talk about, well, I am my ideal customer. Like I made this business for me. It's sort of more like I made it for my best friend who did not start an herb farm, right? Because I don't buy herbal teas. I grow them. And so I'm looking for people who have a similar value system as I do and are excited about connecting with the land and drinking really good teas, but didn't start an herb farm. But it's like, they're still my friends. I can talk to them. I know them. You know what I mean? It's just making this business, like I can see the market of people just is our community. You know what I mean?
So farmers markets, which was that, the other key piece that I wanted to mention earlier was that the uniqueness of your product allowed you, most likely, and you can disagree with this if you do, but my perspective is that the uniqueness of your product allowed you to get into really unique and really strong farmers markets. Yeah. Whereas if you were growing vegetables, you would have had to wait for years and years and years to get into those great markets.
And then you would be one of a few vegetable people, maybe. Yeah. So, yeah, it did. And the farmers markets have been great for building the business. There was definitely a time like that I felt burnt out from it. And we were like, can we just, this product is shippable. Can we create an online business? And the online business at the time when I tried to focus on it was like not growing. It went crazy in 2020 and then it went down for a couple of years despite like working on it. Yeah. I think the tinctures were actually easier to sell online than the teas, oddly.
That was a unique,
but
COVID was weird. Was just a weird thing for like small farm sales and especially online and so alternative medicinal type things. Yeah. But it's definitely faded somewhat.
Yeah. But now, this year, our online store is more than doubled from last year. And I guess it's just building over time, but I'm really happy about that. But I think we also over the years realized like, if we create, reasonable schedules for everyone, we used to have everyone be doing double farmers markets basically every weekend. And so now everyone just does one. So like for Ben and I and staff, Ben does end up doing doubles a fair amount of the time, but we try to schedule it so it doesn't happen too much. They're really fun, to connect with people one-on-one versus like just like packaging things alone
Yeah,
in
it
the
kind of
building.
refreshes you as a
Yeah.
farmer, and you're like, all right, this is
Brings
why
things
I'm
full
doing
circle.
this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
now that the online store is finally growing, I'm excited to like hopefully feed the fire there and invest more energy there. But I see us always sticking with a few of our solid farmers markets. Like Emmaus has been crazy this year.
yeah.
I don't even know. And I know a lot of other small businesses have said that they're down this year, and this is a really hard year. And so I just feel like, we're just like really grateful and glad and tenuously optimistic that our business is doing well this year. I don't know exactly why.
Well, maybe
but,
you're finding a rhythm.
Yeah.
But you also have quite a few wholesale accounts with retailers as well. And how has that played into the equation as far as getting it out to the masses? And
right. It's been, that was interesting. Also, we were thinking about like, can we reach out to a distributor, small distributors, and learning more about that whole process and how that works. You have to scale so much more to meet the demands, and you're paying like slotting fees in some cases. So we didn't end up, we always felt like actually we just were kind of waiting until we had everything in stock. We kind of like kept waiting for the perfect moment. And then at some point I was like, do you know what? While we were waiting for the perfect moment to reach out to a distributor, we've just been growing our retail direct to sales business. And that is, we are selling everything that we're growing.
Yeah.
And we're still, expanding our acreage of growing. So, that is really my focus, is just to continue, like farmers markets, it's like the folks that we were working with on the business were really encouraging us to think about farmers markets, not just as like the sales you make that day. You need to be like, having enough sales that you're paying for the day and then more so that you can pay for your overhead for the week. But to think about them as also marketing while you're able to sell. And I find that to be true since like folks can order online. At least half, if not more, of our online sales come from Pennsylvania. I think it's just folks who were at the farmers market once, but don't go all the time. And now they buy our things online. So all the sales channels really interact with each other. Like they are definitely not separate entities that you can like just that I have found you can just focus on one. And make that grow. Like they all grow slowly together. So our ratio of like farmers markets to other things has changed a little bit from like 50% to 70%, back to 50% kind of as things grow a little bit. But so same with the wholesale has just kind of like grown with the business.
Well, you're diversifying.
A lot of people.
You're simplifying your products mix, but you're staying diversified in the sales avenues.
Right.
And
definitely.
So when, economic situations, global pandemics, like all of those things are people going to the farmer's market because they're afraid to get sick, or are people buying online more, or are they going to retailers more? And so having that mix probably really helps balance things out over time.
Definitely. Yeah. I think a lot of our wholesale accounts have come from people seeing us at the farmer's market. And having a product focus, like saying Katydid Hill Small Farm Tea, has just really helped people want to get our teas in more stores versus the old sort of apothecary was like, well, okay, you have like a mix of things here. So that could be cool, People didn't really get it.
Folks are able to kind of wrap their heads around like what it is that you do and what it is that you do well pretty quickly. So the other thing that I wanted to get into was the just land in general, because you have also, buying land, selling land, finding land, like that. Those are all elements that are very challenging for most small farms and most small, agricultural businesses. And so you just were able to find an ad for the first farm in Orwigsburg, which was previously Red Earth Farm. Yeah. And that was a good relationship probably because they were farmers. Yeah. So they kind of understood where you were at as a new and beginning farmer. Right. To a certain degree. Yeah. And then how many years were you there for?
I was there for 8 years total, I think. Yeah, we moved here in 2024. And then I sold it in 2023 to a neighbor who then knocked down the house
really?
and the barn.
Whoa.
I haven't driven by. I can't do it.
Oh, man.
You know,
it's just fields now?
he kept the summer kitchen.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, he just wanted to plant wildflowers on the fields, which I thought was a great use of it. And I knew he had been clear with us about the house. Like he walked through and he's like, "Oh, it's like my grandmother's house." Like he's up there from the coal region and all. And so he had that connection, but also like it's just expensive.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I had not put a lot of work into the house. Yeah. It needed literally everything from a new roof, new whole septic system. Like we were like there's a lot of big expenses that needed to go into the house, and I get it. I mean, it's sad. Like you want to see those buildings preserved, and people do need housing in Orangeburg, you know, but I get it. And but the barn was a surprise. He had bought wood, he had repaired the windows, and I thought he was going to preserve the barn, but he knocked it down. So.
Wow. So you owned that land for not very long.
Yeah, and I didn't plan. So like I bought it, you know, I leased it in 2016, was just ecstatic to like have my own farm. Growing up in the suburbs, I worked on farms in the city and the suburbs. I knew I had to get further out, you know, but I'd never been to Schuylkill County. Like, but yeah, like I love that little piece of land. It was not like the most fertile soil at all. It was shaly hillside farming. But the herbs like really don't mind about that. However, now that we're here, we're getting much better yields, and it just makes everything easier. Yeah. So that is easier. But yeah, so I did not know, but like I did not expect to marry into a farming family.
Yeah, okay.
So this was not even on my radar at all. So had never even dated another farmer.
Yeah. So your husband's name is Ben.
Right.
Good name.
Yes.
And so that kind of, you met him, he was just right down the street, right? Like he was...
No, he was living in West Reading and working with his parents here. So he had worked for the NRCS in Texas. So he was there for many years. And yeah, he had come back in like 2015 or so to help his parents with the sheep. They had a couple hundred sheep. And his dad did purebred Dorsets. But then he also is... also an entrepreneur, even though he would never admit it. But yeah, he also was like co-owned a bakery and did a bunch of other things. And you know, the livestock, there's a lot to do, but you kind of have like the middle of the day free a lot of the time. So he was doing other things. So I in 2019 I gave a tour to a group of interns from the Rodale Institute. Yeah. And I had these 2 goats that I got from a friend, and it was just not working out. They just would jump their fence. I mean, literally, I would put them in, and then I would go walk to my house, and I would look out the door, and they'd be on the front porch. Like, they just wanted to be with people, or like they were away from their herd, and they just needed something different than I could give them. So after a couple of weeks of struggling with the fencing, I happened to be giving a tour and was just like, you know, if anyone knows someone that would give a good home to these 2 goats. And one of the interns was interning with Ben here with the sheep. So she connected us. He came to pick up the sheep. The goats. And that was how we first met. And then he applied for a job in 2020. And I was like, you're hired.
That's funny. Yeah.
So he worked part-time in 2020. And by the end of the season, he had moved in, you know, and we were making the business planning together.
Cool.
Yeah. And I was just kind of like ready for a change at that point too, you know, kind of what we were talking about with the tincture side of the business. It was still Tooth of the Lion. And I was just ready, you know, I had just learned a lot, and I was sort of tired, and either like I'm either gonna maybe move on to something else, or like really hone in on what I really want to do and how I can see this moving forward. And
something just didn't
we were able to do that together.
Something didn't seem like it was the right fit, and you just you're feeling that entrepreneurial intuition that like something needed to change.
Yeah.
And so then where we're at right now is his family's land that they sold some to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we subdivided. Right.
That was okay. That makes sense now that you were able to, this is great. All these fields up here, the cornfields and everything, that's all there.
So yeah, down to the, like that first dip, and then up to, if you extended that tree line down to the tree line. So there's 40 acres, which is just the smallest chunk that you could subdivide without causing a bunch of red flags as far as like creating a development here.
Yeah.
And then just luckily there was a ranch house that this guy had built 40 years ago, lived there the whole time. He was ready to retire. Originally we were going to build a house and a barn here, but the finances were that was just not going to be in the books once we started looking into that. And he reached out to see if we were interested in buying his house. It was just the perfect, like, small 3-bedroom for our family. And it's adjacent. It's the only adjacent house to these fields. So we could combine them. And yeah, so that all worked out really, really nicely.
Cool. So that's what brought you here. And
yeah,
the fields are looking good. Lots of good herbs. And how many acres of tea and herbs are you growing now here?
Yeah, so the footprint of the herb farm is about 10, 11 acres. That includes like sort of these mow paths, which we rotate the sheep through. We had them in during the heat wave and pink eye situations. But so the herb fields, the actual inside of the herb fields is 6.5 acres. And then we rent the other about 20 acres out to a organic dairy farmer down the road, which is a great relationship.
Yeah.
So,
and do you feel like the demand is growing for the teas and you need to be growing more annually?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've really learned working on yield is way more effective than just planting more. And really dialing in our weed management is probably the biggest thing that we can do. And now that we came to a new farm, we just had to restart. I mean, it was organic hay. So like there are weeds. There is weed pressure here. So we're really just trying to work on that. So we did expand. I mean, the old fields were on a hillside. So if you took out all the drive aisles of that, if you looked at just inside the fields, it was really just under 3 acres that we were growing on. So we essentially doubled, or a little bit more than doubled, our field space of herbs. And that's plenty. I think we can work within that for a while. Because we have a pretty good rotation between like chamomile is about 1/3 of the crop plan. Not anymore because we rotate. It's about 1 acre of chamomile, and that's like it's almost like winter wheat. Like you plant it in the fall, you harvest it in the spring. Can rotate that with our warm season annuals and our perennials, mints and things. Kind of rotate around. So. But it's nice to have room to expand and to have a farm where that's not just like on a straight hill.
Yeah.
There's gentle slopes here and there's spots that we can just keep as pasture since it's bigger. We chose the flattest spot to minimize just the earthwork to build the building. Our initial earthwork quote was $250,000 because we had it tucked away on the hill over there. And so we just moved it to a flat spot, got that down to $100,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just like speaking of that, I mean, just the mortgage. So we got another FSA mortgage for the building, which was a construction loan, which then entailed some like unique challenges with the FSA loan. But that loan is double the amount that my farm purchase was. Back in Origsburg, the farm was 14 total acres, a couple acres of fields. I had the barn, I had the house. Everything was on its last leg, but it was still, there and could be invested in. So just kind of crazy, like the cost of the new construction.
Yeah.
But it's honestly the game changer is because we're like, we have like one full-time equivalent just as a mortgage payment right now, basically. And I feel like we're gaining that in the labor that we save. I mean, at the old setup, we had the back half of the house partitioned off so we could use that as herb storage. We had things going on in the barn and we would meet in the summer kitchen, and then we rented the neighbor's old ice cream shop as our certified kitchen.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which this whole thing is a great way to get started.
Yeah. Well, you got to piece it together.
You do. You just have to figure it out. And that whole thing worked out really well for the first couple of years, but we outgrew it really quickly. And then we were just trying to manage. I mean, we rented storage space in town for a big apple mint harvest. Like, the whole thing was just wild. Trying to find places to store things. Like farming is storage and moving things around, right? And we were so inefficient at those two things. So having one building that it still actually feels too small for now the herbs that we're growing, but I guess that's always the case. But we have room to work with when everything is in one location. The amount of time we save just not having to move things around is amazing.
Yeah, so this is a custom designed building that is specifically for your, herb tea production.
Yeah.
Where did you did you just design it yourself, just pencil and paper? Or are there other templates or models of this that are out there? Because you're obviously you have the agricultural piece, and then you
Yeah.
also have the harvesting, the
Right.
drying,
Right.
the processing, and
Right.
the packaging,
Right.
and then just warehousing of product.
Storage of herbs,
Yeah.
because we have to grow all the herbs in the summer, and then we have year-round income.
Mhm,
So
yeah.
we need to store those herbs all year, pretty much. Just kind of like hay,
Mhm.
really. And so, yeah, we just worked with a contractor. Like, we had our needs, and we were getting quotes. I mean, luckily, we're so close to Lancaster and so close to so many different, like, ag
Yeah.
building
Contractors who are
businesses.
who specifically cater mostly to agricultural operations, so they
Right.
can almost end your sentences for you as a farmer.
Oh my gosh, I was amazed at the things he knew off the top of his head. It was
Mhm.
so cool.
Yeah.
And of course, it's like we only know what we know, and in hindsight, we would have done some things differently. But overall, it worked out for building our first building, which I'm hoping to not do that again. Although now
Yeah.
I know what I would do differently a little bit. But yeah, he actually was building a pole building storage for the neighbor. So getting that personal reference was helpful.
Mhm.
And he had done things similar to this, where there's farm processing, and you need storage, and food processing. He'd done
Yeah.
buildings for food processing and agricultural barns.
Mhm.
So it worked out nicely.
Cool.
Yeah.
What does the future look like? Do you have more ideas, or just trying to
So many ideas.
see this through?
So it's just always a constant struggle
Yeah.
between all the ideas and things that I want to do
Uh-huh.
and what is realistic. Because, yeah, I mean, we've really only been able to be successful when I let go of a bunch of things
Mhm.
and we went narrow and deep on the T's. So I do want to continue doing that. We have some crops like hibiscus and butterfly pea that are challenging and labor intensive, but that are, a fun addition to
Mhm.
the tea line. So just sort of, trialing crops
Yeah.
that can work for tea. Like, for a while, I slashed the crop plan in half
Mhm.
for like 3 years in a row. And we got like just really good. Well, we got pretty decent, I guess, at growing the 12 of our main crops. And now we're able to expand just a little bit, plant one bed of something, see how it goes.
Yeah.
And this farm offers a lot of different microclimates too,
Mhm.
which is cool for growing, like lavender on sort of the drier tops. You can't see,
Yeah.
we haven't mowed it when we harvested it, but it's there. And then we have, nettle and elderberry down where the water runs.
Yeah.
So the space has given us a lot more room to play with things like that. And just like planting trees this fall, I'm feeling a little more settled, like
Mhm.
growing, planting things that take a long time. Continuing to just, become more efficient and grow better and better and more unique, herbal teas, keeping our line in stock. That should be my main focus. But of course, I have a whole skincare line in the works. And I've been growing our sheep flock and turning into merino, like fine wools.
Mhm.
I just am a knitter and spinner, and I love fiber too. So that's a whole new fun thing that I get to learn about and go through the learning curve.
That's my entrepreneurial kind of problem, is that I also have a lot of ideas. So and I feel like that's a good thing, but in order to be productive and successful in any one thing, you do need to rein it in and set some guardrails. So how do you
I mean, Ben really
set
helps
the
me.
bumpers
He's just like my no man.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
nice.
He wouldn't want to. He totally will. It is helpful. And I hone an idea before I speak it to him, because you can't have no too early. But sometimes the no's are good. And if I have a really good plan, he'll of course be into it, and we'll do it together. But at this point, we've probably we honed in really well about 4 years ago. And now I've been growing back out. I think I had a baby in 2023, and that just gives you a lot of time to just sit and nurse and think. And I got way too excited about all the things I wanted to do when I got back to work. And so, I just have to be really careful, make sure that we have enough staff, we can do what we do well, you know, and you can slowly add things. Like, I agree. I don't think it's a bad thing. And I want to always feel inspired to do things.
Yeah.
If I don't feel inspired, then, you know, I'm going to stop farming and just rent the whole thing for hay, because that's not a good place to be for me. So,
yeah, well, I think that that's just a creative, that's just like the dilemma of a creative mind. And
yeah.
I've found in my own personal life a lot of people who have similar experience that I do, and being able to have those conversations with them, like, here's something I'm thinking about, here's an idea, and then
just let it
like
out.
even just yesterday, I was talking to a friend and about this thing that I was thinking about doing, and he's like, you're already past that, like, you don't need to do that, like, and I'm like, okay, that's sounds good. And and it also, because when you have a spouse who is also in the business with you, and they may not have that same kind of like creative compulsion, it does add a lot of complexity and stress to the relationship. And so yeah, it's good to be able to find some people that can have real talk with you, like good friends who are knowledgeable and experienced enough to be able to speak in an educated way about things, but also to be like, just stay focused on what you're doing, like, don't do that other thing, or maybe like get these 3 things in place and up and running, and then maybe you can dabble with that other thing.
Yeah. And so we have really, though, like, we have been trying to, ever since we realized the cost of building this building, and for years people have been asking to come out to the farm, we were like, let's do the on-farm thing, you know? So now we've run into the township issues, which we're hopefully working through.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be able to be as big as maybe I was hoping, or we'll have to go through a variance. We'll have to work out the scale and what is worth to fight with the township at this point.
Yeah,
but
we didn't even get into
that. I do think,
yet.
I know, and we don't even have to, because that is a long half-hour story. But
we can, maybe if we can talk about it a little bit. Basically, you are, because I think this is valuable, because one of the things I want to do is help people learn about land use and creative uses of land. And one of the things that has historically been extremely valuable for small farms is bringing the general public onto the farm for agritourism, whatever. I feel like that's a little bit reductive of a term to use, because you're legitimately, you have an enormous capacity to educate people about farming and food and natural medicine, and even just like the business side of like, what does it take to make a product, an agricultural product specifically. And those are things that can also add a lot of value to the bottom line, where you can have ticketed things, or like a holiday market like we have, but it's a recurring issue that townships don't know how to wrap their brains around it. And it may just be, there may be certain regions where there's more agritourism or more kind of like on-farm activities that happen. It's more ubiquitous in that region, so they have some understanding of how to approach that. But it increasingly, a lot of these rural areas where there's nobody else growing medicinal herbs and tea in this region, really. So this is what you're doing is very out of the ordinary for this specific area, and the township doesn't really know how to how to wrap their brain around it. But that seems backwards, because they should you are preserving land and using farmland to employ people. You're providing local jobs. And then there's a demand from the other non-farming public that want to come here and learn and educate themselves and their families about farming and growing their own food and medicine. And so how can the township do a better job of understanding what it is that you're trying to do here? And it's not like you're trying to host weddings or have a big event center.
Not doing that. And there's like no middle ground between, you take grain crops off your farm to sell them, and you have a giant, wedding and event venue. There's nowhere in between
those are
that they're allowing us to follow. It is a shame. Yesterday in the Board of Supervisors meeting that I went to bring up this issue, the solicitor finally admitted that we are the first people who have come up against this agritainment, they're calling it ordinance. And he admitted that the parking line that they put in there is not sufficient to address this type of operation, because it's really coming down to parking, which is crazy because
the ratio of square footage access
of patron use,
which is 40 acres here on your farm.
We weren't even getting into the 40, but just the 10 of the herb farm footprint. But even really just like a quarter acre you pick flowers. We planted this. I did it again this year because I'm not very bright. I'm perennially optimistic that, you know, things will happen. And we're still fighting the thing. Like I did this last year. We opened for one day. The township, you know, shut us down. And we've been dealing with the thing ever since.
Yeah.
And I just in April was like, I'm starting the seeds and we'll just see what happens. So I know that's probably my fault and I shouldn't have done that, but it's fine. They're fun.
Beautiful.
They're pollinators. It's beautiful.
Getting some airtime here on the podcast with it.
The goal was really to have people out. Like we don't take flowers to market. There's amazing growers at all the markets. You know, I wanted to provide an on-farm experience where people could come and drink a fancy herbal tea latte, like enjoy the farm and the beautiful space, like the big sky that we have here, and pick their own flowers and herbs. This is people being on the farm is like a big sticking point for the township. So even just so to open our farm store, which is a 174 square foot room in the UCC commercially compliant building that we just built.
It's all designed.
ADA access.
You have a handicap parking space right there. It's all paved. You did everything right as far as the building code.
Exactly. But they said when we first applied, so they first shut us down. I called them. He said, you know, we just wanted to know what you're doing. So if you send us in the permit application for agritainment, which is they're calling a farm related business, which is frustrating because they're just putting it into more regulation, because the U-Pick operation is farm products. It's literally farm products. Yeah. You can't even say that it's not. Whereas a farm-related business is something like welding or fertilizer sales, you know, things that I think actually make way more money than farming. So it's just frustrating. And that is, I guess, what they're trying to dial in. But so putting U-Pick in the farm-related business is like the first just frustrating issue. But and then, you know, we're subject to all these other regulations because of that. But the sales of farm product is just a right that farmers have in Pennsylvania from the Right to Farm Act, and many states have that.
And you're zoned correctly
We're zoned ag. We're enrolled in ag security. We have the right to sell our farm product off our farm. And the township cannot enforce burdensome ordinances to regulate that. You know, they can have some regulations, but it can't be overly burdensome. So this is where like the vagueness comes in. And we had to hire a lawyer just to protect our right to sell our farm products.
It seems burdensome when you can't do it at all.
Exactly. When you sent a notice of violation for our event, which maybe could be called agritainment, but was really just focused around sales of our farm product. And that is what we can do. We finally, after a year, got to the point where I should hopefully be picking up the permit today to operate our farm store. But originally they said that the farm store was retail, which we're not zoned for. And it's way too big because they were taking the square footage of the whole building. They weren't acknowledging that it's only a room in the building. Yeah. They were basically saying it needed to be a separate structure. And the solicitor and the code officer are like, not even, sometimes I feel like they haven't even read the ordinance. Because they specifically said, oh, well, we're trying to help you out here because, you know, we're saying it's a farm-related business, whereas a farm stand has to be temporary. You have to take it down in the winter. And the ordinance specifically says it can be open year-round. And so it's like, you need a lawyer to say this? I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, they're assuming that you don't have any farm products during the winter.
Yeah.
That's insulting.
Everyone has, I mean, even jam, you know, salad greens, whatever, herbal teas.
Yeah.
That was our first two issues. And then we didn't have sufficient parking. So when I called him to ask about the parking, and I later asked him to get this in writing, he said he was applying what he felt was the most applicable parking code, since there was none specified in the ordinance, which is the whole issue that I was bringing to them yesterday. You know, it's not just about us. It's about no farm can meet these requirements. And so you're basically shutting down any young farmers, direct to retail sales, any age farmers. But, that's
it's
how
costly infrastructure or costly, alterations as well. Like you said, $100,000 for your excavation for this.
Exactly.
Which is not that large of
and then,
that's most people would think
we did it on the flattest. It's insane. Yeah. And then, of course, the township, that doesn't even include all of the fees and permits for the township to regulate that and have the stormwater in there,
Yeah.
So, basically for that final parking thing, he originally had said that he was applying the 50 square foot of patron use. We need one space for 50 square feet, which is equivalent to 40 acres of paved parking in order to give a farm tour of my 10-acre farm, which is just absolutely insane. Farm tours are a public benefit and something that we do often for free or sometimes for private tours. I'll just charge for my time a little bit. But it's not like our business model. It's something we do because people are interested and they want to see and I want to share it with them. And they're saying that we need to literally pave over the farm to give the farm tour. I mean, it makes no sense. And so on the phone, he was just like, well, this is what a variance process is for. But that's a really expensive process. And I don't think that farmers should have to go to court just to open a 1/4 acre flower you pick. Like, this is not tax dollars at work for the community. It's just not. So anyway, so we're at this point, we're just trying to convince them that the 10 gravel spots that we have, plus the 1 paved ADA, is sufficient to open a small 1/4 acre U-Pick to have ticketed small events and workshops. And we're just tabling like any larger events because it's not really our business model. It's not worth it. But just really focusing on, we're a production farm and we're trying to sell our farm product and educate the public who are interested to come here. People come every day asking if we're open. That's why I had to put the sign up. I don't want to turn them away, but we can't publicly be open right now, which is just so frustrating. So, what they can do for the future is all they have to do is right now, interpret the parking code in a way that allows farmers to operate with gravel and even grass parking, which is normal. I asked them in the meeting last night, have any of you ever been to a farm stand that had paved parking? And no one had anything to say because you haven't been. You know, this is Berks County. It's not like people are unfamiliar with,
There's
farm
tons
stands.
of roadside farm stands all over the place.
Yeah. And I'm like, apparently this hasn't come up in this township because there's so many developments and there's really only a few bigger farmers in this township anymore. And they are involved and they are mad about this, but I know they have to choose their battles. So, they can interpret it differently right now and they just need to add what the parking regulation, they need to be more specific, in the future, allowing gravel, which in the past they said that they have interpreted paved to mean gravel or macadam, but they're not saying that that's what they're allowing right now. So allowing gravel and grass parking reasonable, within reasonable amounts on a farm. Yeah. Which is normal and something you see all the time, but
I guess
if you get on their radar, then
it just feels like it's something that I would take for granted that you would even have to face any of these challenges. Like, it seems this is a very agricultural area.
Right.
So you would think that there would be some more like agricultural common sense that would be employed at the township level. But and
if I was it was a family farm, so we didn't really do any of this. And I know people always complain about the township or whatever around here, but if I was shopping around for a farm and wanted to look into the zoning and you looked at it here, you would say to yourself, oh, great, they have the zoning code for this. It's zoned ag. We can enroll in ag security. And it should be fine. And on paper, it should have been fine. Yeah. But the way that they're interpreting this little parking thing is not allowing any farm to do anything. Yeah, basically.
Well, that's challenging. Yeah, and just something to keep in mind for folks who, new and beginning farmers, thinking about business plan, what they want to do with the land, just land managers, and people who are investing in land, and just that even if you do the homework, it's not always fully assured that you'll be able to do exactly what you want to do. So,
just preemptively budgeting in to get a lawyer for anything like this, I think is important.
Yeah. What's the future hold then, as far as like I know we talk to you always have ideas, but just staying with farm teas, and you have a flock of sheep that you're selling some yarn and some things like that.
Yeah.
Where can people find the products? What farmers markets was it?
So we go weekly to Rittenhouse Square and Clark Park in Philly, and then Emmaus in the Lehigh Valley on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Every week we do those, and then we alternate. We do Westchester every other Saturday, Westchester Growers Market, and the West Reading Farmers Market every other Sunday. So those are our 5 markets that we're at right now. And we pop into other events. Like I just did a artisan market down at Winterthur, Delaware, which was a beautiful spot. Despite the smoke early on, it was nice to be there. So yeah, we do different events, but also you can check out all of our products on our website. Mm-hmm. We have free shipping over $75, and a couple of awesome retailers locally and also nationally. Yeah. We're at retailers nationally.
And that list is all on your website.
Yeah, there is actually an actual up-to-date map right now.
Nice. Yeah,
on the website.
Keeping the map up to date is always the chore.
Yeah.
I feel like there's plenty more that we could talk about, but we'll have to do it again sometime. And
yeah, sure. Sounds great.
Thanks for sitting down and chatting.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, it's beautiful here.
Thank you.